I've spent my entire life studying the ancient lore of Atlantis, poring over dusty texts and crumbling scrolls in search of any hint about this fabled city. Some say it's nothing more than a myth, a tale spun by the Greeks to explain their own failures. But I knew better. I had always felt an inexplicable pull towards the ocean, as if the very depths themselves were beckoning me towards some hidden truth. It was on one such dive, deep beneath the waves in my state-of-the-art submersible, that I stumbled upon something that would change everything. The entrance to Atlantis was guarded by a massive stone statue of Poseidon, its eyes glowing with an otherworldly light. As I approached, the water pressure seemed to increase, as if the sea itself was trying to keep me out. I hesitated for a moment, my heart pounding in my chest, before activating the submersible's lights and cautiously making my way past the statue. The darkness beyond was absolute, but my instruments picked up strange readings. A faint hum, like the buzzing of 1,000 bees, seemed to emanate from within. As I descended further into the depths, the hum grew louder, until it became almost deafening. It was then that I saw it, a glowing, ethereal light emanating from a vast, arched entranceway. The light pulsed with an eerie energy, beckoning me deeper into the heart of Atlantis. I felt a shiver run down my spine as I realized that I had stumbled upon something truly remarkable or truly forbidden. Whatever lay within those gates, I knew that it would change me forever. As I emerged from the submersible's darkness into the bright lights of my team's makeshift base camp, I couldn't help but feel a sense of excitement and trepidation. The team had been assembled with great care, each member handpicked for their unique expertise. There was Dr. Rodriguez, our chief archaeologist, Lieutenant Commander Sarah Jenkins, an expert in underwater warfare, Dr. Patel, a renowned biologist, and Jack Harris, a seasoned engineer and tech whiz. Together, we were determined to unravel the secrets of Atlantis. Our equipment was state-of-the-art, designed to withstand the crushing pressure of the deep ocean and capture every detail of our discoveries. Cameras, sensors, and sampling gear lined the submersible's interior, ready to collect whatever clues might lie within the ancient city's walls. Our dashboards were a flurry of screens and lights, displaying real-time data from our instruments as we began our descent. But despite the science behind us, I couldn't shake the feeling that we were being watched. The water seemed to press in around us, like an unseen presence waiting for its moment to strike. I glanced out at the dark expanse of the ocean, my heart beating just a little bit faster. We were about to enter uncharted territory, and I wondered if we were truly prepared for what lay ahead. "All right, team," Dr. Rodriguez called out, her voice steady as she reviewed our mission briefing. "Let's get moving. We've got a city to explore." The submersible lurched forward, and we began our journey into the unknown, leaving the safety of the surface world behind. As we delved deeper into the darkness, the silence was almost palpable. It was as if the ocean itself was holding its breath, waiting for us to make our next move. I took a deep breath, steeling myself for what was to come. We were about to uncover secrets that had lain undisturbed for millennia, but at what cost? As we ventured deeper into the city, the diver's screen began to display a surreal landscape, unlike anything they had ever seen before. Towering structures made of a glittering white stone rose from the seafloor like crystal spires, their surfaces etched with strange symbols that seemed to shift and writhe in the light of our equipment. The air was thick with an otherworldly mist that clung to our suits like a damp shroud, making every movement feel slow and laborious. The city itself seemed to be alive, its buildings twisting and writhing like living things as we navigated through it. We passed beneath archways that seemed to stretch on forever, their peaks lost in the darkness above us. Every step felt like a journey into the heart of madness, as if we were being drawn deeper into some ancient ritual by an unseen force. Dr. Patel's voice cut through the silence, her words laced with wonder and trepidation. "This is impossible," she breathed. "The geology here doesn't match anything I've seen before." Lieutenant Commander Jenkins' voice was steady as ever, but a hint of unease crept into her tone. "We need to be careful," she warned. "Whatever is going on here, it's not natural." As we delved deeper into the heart of the city, the symbols etched into the stone began to pulse with a malevolent energy. It was as if we were disturbing some ancient power, one that had lain dormant for millennia. I felt a creeping sense of dread as I realized that we were not alone in this place. Something was watching us, waiting for us to make our next move, and I wondered what horrors lay in store for us when we finally uncovered the secrets of Atlantis. As we ventured deeper into the heart of Atlantis, the air grew thick with an unsettling presence. At first, it was just a faint whispering, a soft susurration that seemed to emanate from all directions at once. It was as if the city itself was speaking in hushed tones, its ancient secrets being shared among the stones and the sea. The sound sent shivers down my spine, making me feel like I was walking through a nightmare. But it was only the beginning. As we turned a corner, the whispering gave way to the sound of cracking wood, the creaking of ancient structures that seemed to be shifting and twisting around us. It was as if the very fabric of the city was alive, and it was rebelling against our presence. The team struggled to focus on their mission, but it was impossible. Every step felt like a betrayal, every movement making us feel like intruders in a place that didn't want us there. "Doctor." Patel's voice was barely above a whisper as she consulted the maps and notes on her suit. "This can't be right," she muttered. "The city plans don't match what we're seeing." Lieutenant Commander Jenkins' eyes narrowed, her gaze sweeping the area for any signs of danger. "We need to keep moving," she said, her voice firm but laced with a hint of unease. But I knew that we were walking into a trap. The city was playing games with us, and we were just pawns in its ancient game of survival. And then the whispering started again, louder this time, making it impossible for me to think. As we ventured deeper into the heart of Atlantis, the air grew thick with an unsettling presence. At first, it was just a faint whispering, a soft susurration that seemed to emanate from all directions at once. It was as if the city itself was speaking in hushed tones, its ancient secrets being shared among the stones and the sea. The sound sent shivers down my spine, making me feel like I was walking through a nightmare. But it was only the beginning. As we turned a corner, the whispering gave way to the sound of cracking wood, the creaking of ancient structures that seemed to be shifting and twisting around us. It was as if the very fabric of the city was alive, and it was rebelling against our presence. The team struggled to focus on their mission, but it was impossible. Every step felt like a betrayal, every movement making us feel like intruders in a place that didn't want us there. Dr. Patel's voice was barely above a whisper as she consulted the maps and notes on her suit. "This can't be right," she muttered. "The city plans don't match what we're seeing." Lieutenant Commander Jenkins' eyes narrowed, her gaze sweeping the area for any signs of danger. "We need to keep moving," she said, her voice firm but laced with a hint of unease. But I knew that we were walking into a trap. The city was playing games with us, and we were just pawns in its ancient game of survival. And then the whispering started again, louder this time, making it impossible for me to think. Suddenly, ghostly apparitions began to manifest around us, their real forms flickering in and out of existence like lanterns in the wind. The team gasped in unison as a figure coalesced before Dr. Patel's eyes, its features twisted into a scream of agony that seemed to pierce through the suit's fabric. "What is this place?" she whispered, her voice trembling with fear. Lieutenant Commander Jenkins stepped forward, her hand on the grip of her gun. "We need to get out of here," she growled, but I knew it was too late. The apparitions grew more solid, their forms taking shape as we watched in horror. We were not alone in this place, and whatever was with us, it did not want us to leave. As we ventured deeper into the heart of Atlantis, the team stumbled upon an ancient entrance hidden behind a tapestry of coral and seaweed. The air was heavy with the scent of blooming flowers and the sound of gentle waterfalls. Dr. Patel's eyes widened as she gazed upon the entrance, her voice barely above a whisper. "This is it," she breathed. "The fabled gardens of Atlantis." Lieutenant Commander Jenkins nodded, her hand on the grip of her gun. "Let's get moving," she said, her voice steady but laced with a hint of excitement. As we stepped through the entrance, two imposing stone statues loomed before us, their faces stern and unforgiving. They seemed to be guarding something, watching us with an unblinking gaze that sent shivers down my spine. The statues were surrounded by a ring of mushrooms, their caps glowing softly in the dim light. Dr. Patel reached out a tentative hand, her fingers brushing against the rough stone of one of the statues. "These are ancient," she murmured, her voice full of awe. "The carvings depict the gods of Atlantis themselves." I felt a thrill run through me as I gazed upon the statues, their faces seeming to come alive in my mind's eye. They were the guardians of this place, the sentinels of secrets and mysteries beyond our wildest dreams. As we proceeded deeper into the gardens, the air grew thick with an otherworldly energy. The flowers seemed to be watching us, their petals unfolding like tiny wings as we passed by. I couldn't shake the feeling that we were being led somewhere, that the gardens themselves were trying to reveal a hidden truth. And then we saw it, a great crystal pool, its surface reflecting the light of the setting sun. The water was perfectly still, as if time itself had been frozen in place. Dr. Patel gasped, her hand flying to her mouth. "This is incredible," she breathed. "The ancient Atlanteans must have revered this place above all else." But as I gazed upon the pool, I couldn't shake the feeling that we were not alone. That something was waiting for us on the other side of the water, watching and waiting. As we ventured deeper into the heart of Atlantis, the team began to experience strange and terrifying hallucinations. The gardens, once a place of serene beauty, had transformed into a maze of twisting corridors and dark, foreboding caverns. Dr. Patel stumbled upon a room filled with ancient artifacts, but they seemed to be twisted and distorted, as if reflected in a funhouse mirror. She saw visions of her own past, memories that she thought were long buried, swirling around her like a maelstrom. Lieutenant Commander Jenkins found herself facing an endless staircase, each step leading up to a door that seemed to shift and change before her eyes. She tried to climb, but the stairs seemed to stretch on forever, her legs aching with exhaustion. The sound of whispers filled my ears, a chorus of voices that seemed to come from all directions at once. I saw shadowy figures darting around the edges of my vision, their faces twisted into cruel grins. The world around me began to distort and writhe, like a living thing in agony. I stumbled through the gardens, desperate to escape the madness that was closing in around me. But every door led only to more corridors, more twisting paths that seemed to lead nowhere. I felt like I was trapped in a never-ending nightmare with no way out. And then I saw it, a great glowing portal that seemed to pulse with an otherworldly energy. It beckoned to me, drawing me closer with an irresistible force. I knew that if I stepped through the portal, there would be no turning back. The madness that had been building inside me would consume me whole. As we stumbled upon the Hall of Reflections, the team was met with an eerie silence. The air was heavy with the scent of old books and dust, and the walls seemed to press in on us from all sides. The floor was made of polished silver, reflecting our images like a mirror. Doctor. Patel's eyes widened as she gazed upon her own reflection, but it was distorted, twisted into a grotesque parody of its former self. "What is this place?" she whispered, her voice trembling with fear. Lieutenant Commander Jenkins approached the nearest mirror, and what she saw made her blood run cold. Her reflection was older, wiser, and yet different. The eyes that stared back at her were not her own, but those of a stranger, a person she did not recognize. I felt a shiver run down my spine as I gazed upon my own reflection, but it too was twisted, distorted in ways that seemed impossible. The mirrors seemed to be manipulating our perceptions, warping our sense of reality. We stumbled through the hall, trying to make sense of what we saw, but every mirror reflected a different version of ourselves. Some showed us as heroes, others as villains. Some depicted us as loved ones, while others revealed our deepest fears and desires. The reflections seemed to be playing tricks on us, taunting us with glimpses of what could have been. And yet, despite the madness that surrounded us, I couldn't shake the feeling that we were being led somewhere. That this hall was a test, a trial by fire that would reveal our deepest truths. But what lay at the end of the hall, and what did it want from us? As we delved deeper into the heart of Atlantis, the team began to uncover dark secrets about the city's past. We stumbled upon ancient texts that spoke of a long-forgotten cult that had worshipped malevolent deities. The cult, known as the Order of the Black Depths, had been obsessed with summoning and controlling powerful entities from other dimensions. Their rituals had awakened ancient evils, which had then gone on to wreak havoc on Atlantis. We discovered that the cult had been led by a charismatic leader named Archaea, who had promised her followers power and immortality in exchange for their darkest desires. But as we read on, it became clear that Archaea's true intentions were far more sinister. She had made a pact with a malevolent entity known only as the Devourer, which had granted her immense power but at a terrible cost. The team was horrified by what we had uncovered, and we couldn't shake the feeling that we were being watched by unseen eyes. It was as if the Devourer was waiting for us, patiently biding its time until it could strike. We knew that we had to be careful, that one wrong move could trigger a catastrophic event that would destroy everything we had worked for. But despite our reservations, we couldn't help but feel drawn to the dark secrets of Atlantis's past. It was as if we were being pulled into a world of madness and terror, where the lines between reality and myth blurred. And then, we stumbled upon a hidden chamber deep beneath the city, filled with ancient artifacts and forbidden knowledge. It was here that we found the proof we needed to unlock the secrets of Atlantis's downfall. But as we gazed upon the evidence, we realized that some secrets were better left unspoken. As we ventured deeper into the labyrinthine corridors of the gardens, it became increasingly clear that the team was trapped. The twisting passageways seemed to shift and writhe around us, like a living entity determined to confound and mislead. Every door led to more corridors, every hallway ended in a dead end. We stumbled through the darkness, desperate to find a way out, but every step felt like a betrayal of our expectations. Dr. Patel's eyes were red-rimmed from lack of sleep, her usually sharp mind reeling from the endless loop of corridors. "We're being herded," she whispered to Lieutenant Commander Jenkins, who was stumbling behind her. "They want us to get lost." The lieutenant commander shook his head, but I could see the doubt in her eyes. We had been so sure that we were on a mission to uncover the secrets of Atlantis, not to get trapped in some ancient maze. But now, as we stumbled through the darkness, it seemed like the gardens themselves were conspiring against us. Every step echoed through the corridors, making it seem like we were being followed by unseen feet. I couldn't shake the feeling that we were walking into a trap, that the team was being manipulated by some hidden force. And then, just when we thought things couldn't get any worse, the walls began to change. The stone blocks seemed to melt and flow like wax, revealing new corridors and passageways that hadn't been there before. It was as if the labyrinth itself was adapting to our presence, evolving to keep us trapped forever. We were trapped in a living hell, with no escape from the ever-shifting corridors of the gardens. And then, just when all hope seemed lost, we stumbled upon a glimmer of light in the distance. A door, slightly ajar, beckoned to us like an oasis in the desert. But as we approached it, I realized that something was terribly wrong. The door wasn't leading out of the labyrinth, it was leading into something even more terrifying. As they reached the heart of the gardens, the divers were confronted with an unspeakable horror, a twisted, nightmarish version of their own deepest fears. The water seemed to ripple and distort, like a living thing trying to contain the terror within. I saw visions of the dark depths that lurked beneath the surface, of the monsters that waited patiently in the shadows, their eyes glowing with an otherworldly light. Doctor. Patel's reflection stared back at her from the mirror-like surface, its eyes black as coal, its skin stretched taut over its skull like a drumhead. The others saw things too. Lieutenant Commander Jenkins was confronted with the face of his own mortality, his body twisted and contorted in a living nightmare of pain and despair. And I saw what we all feared most, our own demise, staring back at us from the depths of the garden's heart. It was as if the very fabric of reality had been torn apart, revealing the darkest corners of our own psyches. The divers were frozen in terror, unable to move or look away from the horror that faced them. And then, just when it seemed like we couldn't take any more, the water began to churn and bubble. The twisted, nightmarish version of ourselves began to rise up from the depths, their faces contorted in a scream of rage and terror. It was as if they were trying to break free from our own minds to escape the prison of our own fears. I knew then that we had to get out. We had to escape the gardens before it was too late. But as we turned to flee, I saw something that made my blood run cold. A figure standing just beyond the edge of the water, watching us with an unblinking gaze. It was one of our own. Or at least, it was a version of ourselves that had been twisted and corrupted by the horrors of the garden's heart, and it was coming for us. The explorers were forced to confront the true nature of the Atlantis garden and the terrible price they must pay for uncovering its secrets. As we gazed out into the heart of the garden, I saw it, the truth that had been hidden beneath the surface all along. The garden was not a place of beauty and wonder, but a prison designed to trap and torment those who dared to venture too close. And we were the latest prisoners to be added to its ranks. The figure from my past stepped forward, its eyes blazing with an otherworldly energy. "You should not have come here," it hissed, its voice like a cold wind. "Now you will never leave." And with that, the garden began to shift and writhe around us, its walls closing in like a vice. We were trapped with no way out. The explorers fought hard to escape, but it was too late. The garden had them in its grasp, and it would not let them go. I watched as they were consumed by the very horrors they had sought to uncover. Doctor. Patel's mind was shattered by the secrets she had uncovered, her body twisted into a living nightmare of pain and despair. Lieutenant Commander Jenkins was dragged screaming into the depths of the garden, never to be seen again. And I was left alone, forced to confront the true horror of what we had discovered. The Atlantis Garden was not just a place of wonder and discovery. It was a portal to a realm of madness and terror, where those who dared to venture too close would be forever changed. And I knew that I would never be able to escape its grasp. The garden had me now, and I would be trapped here forever, forced to confront the horrors that lurked within my own mind.